welcome to the Straight Shooter Recruiter. I'm Emily, a senior recruiter by day and a career coach by night. And believe it or not, I hated interviews before I became a recruiter. I felt like every single time I got nervous, I either froze up and kind of just blank stared into the interviewer, which, let me tell you, not a good look, or I rambled for hours. I dated it back to my birthday. I dated it back to when I got my goldfish in 2008. I would fill the room with useless information. And it wasn't until I started my career in recruitment that I realized there really is a formula for success. There really is a way to answer every single interview question pretty dang perfectly. Regardless of if you're in finance, tech, whatever it might be, I promise the tip I'm about to give you today, she's a game changer. It is going to change the way that you interview. I am so excited to share it with you. But before we dive in, I mean, you're already here. We're already having such a great time. I feel like you should just subscribe, perhaps hit that little notification bell. I don't know, I don't want to pressure you, but I'll just wait. Let me know. All right, enough of that. Let's get into the good stuff. This channel is going to have so many amazing resources to help you prepare for interviews. But this tip, in my opinion, is the foundation of every good interview. It is truly timeless. It is universal. It is the OG. I love this tip. The tip in every interview on how to answer any question correctly is be a star. Yep, no, this is real advice. Stay with me, I promise. STAR stands for the situation, the task, the action, and the result. Really what it is a framework for you to answer any question, whether it's technical or behavioral. I mean, I think they're extra amazing for behavioral questions, but I digress. It's a way to answer questions that adds the perfect amount of structure. Make sure that you're giving the interviewer the right amount of information without filling up the room with useless facts, circa Emily 2013, okay? Let's do this. So in an interview, let's pretend that you were just asked, tell me about a time you were working on a team and you faced some challenges. It's a pretty common question. I feel like most people have gotten this at some point in their life. What sometimes happens is people will ramble a lot. They'll take up a lot of time giving me information I don't really need, and it's kind of hard for me to follow what they're getting at. Or on the flip side, I get people who give me one-word answers like,
worked on a team that was so bad, next question.
That's not gonna help me. So we're gonna follow the STAR method, give you the perfect amount of information, and then basically give you the framework to rinse and repeat every time you're asked a question. So, reminder, our question is tell me about a time you worked on a team and you faced some challenges. So we start with the S, which is the situation. You wanna tell the interviewer what the situation was in just enough detail that they understand what's happening, but not so much detail that they don't actually understand what you're talking about. So my answer for this might be, I was working on a group project where we had to run a financial evaluation of a startup company. That's it. One sentence. You can maybe do 2 sentences if you're feeling crazy. Short, sweet, 2 sentences, we call it a day, we move on to the task. And the task is the really important part. The task is obviously where we call out the stuff you had to do, the tasks, but it's also where we call out what the problem was. So remember, your question asked about a time you worked on a challenging team or had a challenge with a team. Here is where you actually include what the problem was. So this is also your problem statement. So in this example, I would say our team was really struggling to figure out what startup company we wanted to evaluate, and it was starting to cause a bit of backlog on our work. There it is. You outlined the thing you had to do and what the problem was with the thing. Let's move on to action. And action is actually where I see the most mistakes, and it's the exact same mistake over and over again. You guys are way too humble. I get people who will say things like, my team and I did this, my group did this, and then collectively we did this. And yeah, that's great. I'm sure your team was wonderful, but I'm not interviewing your team, I'm interviewing you. I want to know specifically what you contributed. So when you're answering this portion of the question, it's great to include what your team did overall, but I need at least 1 or 2 sentences calling out what you did. This is a chance for you to highlight the work you do, your leadership, how you collaborate, how you solve problems. So think really hard about why you made that project or that assignment extra special. So for this example, I might say, we were really struggling to figure out what company we wanted to pick, so I set up a Zoom meeting with the entire team for us to all share our opinions for a couple of minutes. And then from there, I set up a vote to make sure that we could pick the company we were all most happy with. Done. Shows your leadership, shows your initiative, shows how you work on teams, and it was what? 2 sentences, 3 at most because I talk fast. Simple, easy. Then we move on to the results. Obviously, the results are what happened. I often get asked by people, and by often I mean all the time, I get asked, okay, so what if I use the STAR method and the result sucked? What if we failed the project or that product we were working on never launched? I think that's okay. Any interviewer who's going to assume that every single thing in life has gone smashingly, off without a hitch, they're crazy. Everyone knows that life happens. No project, no assignment, nothing is ever going to come out perfect. So if the result for the example that you're sharing sucks, it's okay to be honest that the result kind of sucked. But what is most important is that you called out what you learned from it and what you would do differently next time. So for example, with my situation I completely made up, if the project was a total bust, totally sucked, this is how I would answer the results part. Even though we tried to get the team on the same page, unfortunately, we fell so far behind on deadlines that we actually were not able to get a great grade. But what I learned from it was blah, 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 the importance of teamwork, communicating, collaborating. You get the gist. On the flip side of that, if your result was really great, this is a chance for you to flex. Please. Flex. Share why it was a great success. Did you get a great grade? Did you turn it in on time? Were your customers really happy? So that is the time where you highlight all the fabulous things that you did that made the project a success. Sweet. We've got the basics of the STAR method nailed down. You wrote down all of those notes. We're good to go. The next step is that we actually have to practice. And I know that nobody wants to practice preparing for interviews, sometimes even before you have an interview lined up. But trust me when I say using the STAR method is awesome, but it takes practice for it to feel natural. It takes practice for you to be able to answer difficult questions on the spot or to even prepare really well for interviews. So naturally, I'm about to give you just a little bit of homework.
Don't hate me, it's for your own good.
Here's what we're going to do. In the comments, you are going to answer the following question, obviously using the STAR method, and I'm going to give you feedback. And then what I want you to do from there is prepare. Commit to preparing a couple of sample answers for, whatever popular questions you might get in an interview. Like, tell me about a time you were a leader, or tell me about a time where you failed a project or a course. So really get into the habit of practicing. So step number 1, you're going to answer this question using the STAR method in the comments. And here is your question. Tell me about a time where you set a goal for yourself. What did you do to reach that goal, and did you reach the goal? Bam. Don't forget, we're using the STAR method. All right, so key takeaways from today. Number 1, STAR method is fire. You literally cannot mess it up. Step number 2, you have to practice or you might mess it up, so make sure you're practicing. Number 3 is make sure when you're speaking about actions, you're speaking about your actions, not just your team actions. And number 4, and arguably the most important, is you have to subscribe. I mean, this was great. I feel like we've got a connection going. It feels really special to me. So I think you should subscribe because we're going to go so freaking in depth on how to prepare for interviews. Everything from how to write notes, what to look for on the company's website, what to wear. We are going to get so nitty gritty. And now that you've got the STAR method down, you are ready for level 2. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a beat. Please like, comment. I also have a podcast and Instagram you can check out. Handles will be coming on the next page. I really appreciate you. Thank you for being here, and let's talk careers next week.